Our next project is a coaster. For our coaster, you'll need yarn, scissors, a stitch marker, your crochet hook, and a yarn needle. We'll begin with a magic ring. Chain 1, and now we'll add 8 half double crochets through the center of the magic ring. Count from the hook to make sure you have 8 stitches. To count them from the top, you can count this back loop right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. To count them from the side, you can find the V. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll close the ring by adding a slip stitch through this first stitch. It's a little tight, but make sure to grab both the front and the back loop for the whole V. Tighten the circle by pulling on the tail. The next stitch we'll work into is the one to the left of the one we just slip stitched through. So not this one where our slip stitch is currently. If we pull it, we'll find that one, but the one next to it to the left. We're going to add 2 half double crochets through that stitch. Add a stitch marker to the first stitch you made of this new round. That will let you know when it's time to stop the next round. We'll continue adding 2 half double crochets into every stitch. This will give us a total of 16 stitches when we reach the end of the round. This last stitch is a little tight because it already has our slip stitch through it. But wiggle your hook through that stitch, and once there's one through it, it's easier to get the second one through it as well. You'll know you got to the end of the round because you'll meet your stitch marker. For our third round, we're going to be using double crochets. Remove the stitch marker, and then into that same stitch you just removed the stitch marker from, add 2 double crochets. Put the stitch marker back in your first double crochet. It will be 2 stitches from your hook. In the next stitch, we're only going to add 1 double crochet. And we'll repeat this pattern, adding 2 double crochets into one stitch and 1 double crochet into the next. Two double crochets, one double crochet, it's helpful to count these in groups of 3, counting 1, 2 in the first stitch, and 3 in the last stitch. One, 2, and 3. I got to the end of my round and realized that I was going to end on the wrong number of stitches. Our last stitch should be just 1 double crochet, but mine was going to be 2. So I went back through and I found the place where I had put 2 double crochets into this stitch, and then I put 2 double crochets into the next stitch as well. You can see that there are 2 posts coming from this one stitch, and same here, 2 posts coming through the one stitch. So I'm just going to undo some of my work right here, find the stitch where I put too many, and now I can continue. When you undo your work, it's called frogging, because you rip it, rip it, rip it out. You will do lots of frogging in your crochet journey. Approaching the end this time, I can see I got it right, because I have 2 stitches left and 3 stitches to make. 2 in the first one, and 1 double crochet in my final stitch. I know it's the end because there's my stitch marker. I can also count here and make sure I still have 24 double crochets. We'll take out that stitch marker and go ahead and add 2 double crochets into this stitch. Count 2 stitches away from your hook to find the first one you made, and replace that stitch marker right there. Then we'll add 1 double crochet in the next one, just like we started our last round. But after that, we'll also add 1 double crochet into the next stitch. So our pattern this time is 2, 1, 1. You can count these in groups of 4 if it's helpful, counting 1, 2 in your first stitch, and then 3 in the next one, 4 in the one after that. Another helpful trick is you can look at the last row, or you can see where your increase was. Right here I have 2 double crochets coming out of 1 stitch, so that's my increase. My increase in this round will happen in the first stitch of the increase of the last round. So this is my increase here, coming off of that first stitch of the increase of last round. You don't need to be able to recognize it this way, but it is helpful if you lose your place. Now I have 2 stitches left and 2 spaces to do them. You might have been able to guess by now. Our round 5 and 6 are both going to look similar to the past 2 rounds. We remove that stitch marker, put 2 double crochets into that stitch, replace your stitch marker, and now the next 3 stitches get 1 double crochet. Our pattern is 2, 1, 1, 1. You can count this in groups of 5, with 1 and 2 being in the first stitch, and 3, 4, 5 getting all of their own stitches. For round 6, you guessed it. Take the stitch marker out, 2 double crochets, replace the stitch marker, and 4 double crochets into the next 4 stitches for a total of 6. So you can count these in groups of 6. 1, 2 in the first one, 3, 4, 5, 6, each get their own stitch. For the coaster we're making today, this will be our last row of increases. But if you wanted to make a bigger coaster, or a placemat even, you could just continue this pattern. You would add 1 double crochet to every round. So for how this one we're doing 4 double crochets. The next round you would do 5, and then 6, and then 7, and so on. When you get up to those really high numbers of increases, then it's helpful to be able to identify the increase from the round previous, so you don't have to count out 9 or 10 stitches every time you let your mind wander and you lose track of how many stitches you just did. These coasters are perfect for putting your cool drinks on so that it doesn't get your table wet with any drips. They're less perfect for hot cups of coffee or tea because included in your crochet kit is acrylic yarn, and acrylic yarn can melt if it gets too hot. If you want to make a coaster for a hot drink, use cotton yarn, which won't melt. When we get to the end of round 6, we should have a total of 48 stitches. Right where our stitch marker is, we'll slip stitch to close the circle. If you'd like to stop now, you can. You have a perfect coaster in a circular shape. If you'd like to add a scalloped border, keep going. Our scalloped border will start by slip stitching into the next stitch, so that makes 2 slip stitches. One to close the coaster and the next to start the border. In the next stitch, we'll add 7 half double crochets all into the same stitch. Adding a bunch of stitches into the same stitch creates this little half circle or scallop. To start the next scallop, we'll start with another slip stitch. And again, 7 half double crochets. Another slip stitch to close, and a slip stitch again to start the next scallop. We'll repeat this pattern all the way around the coaster. Slip stitch, 7 half double crochets, slip stitch, slip stitch, 7 half double crochets, slip stitch. When you reach the end of the scalloped border, slip stitch into that last stitch that's remaining, chain 1, leave a long tail, pull the yarn through, and thread onto your darning needle to weave through the back of your project. I like to tie my ends together and pass them through a few stitches before trimming my yarn close to the project. That keeps them from ever coming undone and also leaves a very nice finish. And here we have our final coaster.